Okay, I think we're back. I think we're good to go here. It's been, I wish I could say a couple of days or a couple of weeks. It's been actually a few months since I have been in this studio. And so I think I got everything up and running. We're just going to wait a minute here just to see if people are filing in. I can actually get some form of confirmation on whether or not everything is A-okay. It's good to be back. It's very good to be back. I like this. I like the setup. I like where the news is going in terms of bashing Mark Carney. I don't like the fact that Mark Carney is now an unelected prime minister, and he's about to be sworn in literally any day. Could be as early as tomorrow, and it could be as late as Friday. People are saying, hey, okay, the chat is there. All right, sounds good to me, he says. Like the background, this is it, folks. We're in the mix. This is Canada's Maple MAGA, apparently, studio. I need to put a Trump flag behind me or something, because apparently I'm like a huge Trump fan. Apparently, right? Even though 99% of the content is Pierre Poilievre, apparently I'm a huge Trump fan. All right. So what is happening? Well, yesterday we got to see how messed up this country actually is, right? Never in my life did I think we would have an elected prime minister, selected prime minister, based off of 120 some thousand votes. That's insane. I think it was like the third or fourth place candidate for the Conservative Party leadership race had more votes than all of Carney's competitors. And this is the order that it fell in. So for those that have been apparently living under a rock, Mark Carney is our new prime minister. Yeah, Mark Carney's our new prime minister. Would you guys think of the thumbnail? Hey, of Carney being sad. I just copied the Trudeau one over to the thumbnail. It looks pretty good to me. Not he looks good, but just Carney being sad looks good. Because I think he's in for a rude awakening. In this video, later on, we're going to take a look at Pierre Poilievre absolutely just dropping a massive bombshell on Mark Carney and the reality that he just stepped in. He just stepped into the Shark Tank, and he has no real political experience, no way to actually understand fully what is going on. The guy was a banker. He's not even Canadian. The guy's not even Canadian. He's like European or something. He holds like 5, 7, or 3 different passports. It doesn't make any sense. Yet he's supposed to lead this country. I don't think so. This wasn't a democracy type of vote. Yeah, okay, people voted. I think there was like 400 some thousand odd people that were signed up to be liberal voters, to vote on the liberal leadership race. That's okay. That's still a small amount of people to elect a prime minister of a country that has 40 million plus people. But it's disgusting what happens. It really, really stinks. And on top of all of that, now he's appointing the cream of the crop villains, man. This guy is day one. He's like the Joker, and he's appointing the Penguin and all of these people. He's not appointing the Avengers. He's appointing the opposite. He's like Thanos or something. This is horrible. Remember Marco Mendicino, big guy, potato head? Can I even call people names anymore? Or am I going to end up on global news this time? Look, remember the big guy? He used to be pretty big. His mentality was that of a fat pig, right? His mentality was that of a fat pig. Look, Marco Mendicino used to be a pretty fat guy. He gained a lot of weight during the Emergencies Act, which he illegally invoked. Okay. Then I'm assuming based off of stress of the media and the world hammering down on the fact that what he did was criminal, the guy went into hiding. Remember Marco Mendicino? He hasn't been in the news in a long time. He just got appointed by Mark Carney for his cabinet. I don't understand any of this. Like, all of the people that were bad, that left Trudeau's cabinet, they're all coming back to work for Mark Carney. How is this any better? Canada is done. All of the people, all the shit disturbers, all of the bad people that worked for Trudeau, they're coming back with a vengeance to what? Now that it's not Trudeau running the ship and it's the more evolved WEF version of Trudeau, suddenly we're going to be better? Give me a freaking break. You know what else is going on? Remember that I did not see that coming, right? Remember that guy? Remember who invited him, right? Anthony Rota, the old House Speaker, right? The freaking guy who's in charge, the judge, the adjudicator, Judge Judy of Canada for our politics, who stands there wearing the robes, pretending to be a hotshot in that big chair. It's a huge chair. It's the biggest chair in Canada. He invited a Nazi up into Parliament from North Bay or whatever. He's like, oh, everybody clap up there. I know a little bit of what that's like to be up in a gallery and then get completely destroyed. But he's a Nazi. He's a Nazi. Okay? A literal Nazi. Anthony Rota is now addressing the country tomorrow in North Bay. What's going on? The guy invited a Nazi into Parliament and now he gets to address the entire country and the world? I don't understand this. We're going backwards now. We're going backwards. We don't want that. We want to go forwards. Why haven't we had a real election? And is Mark Carney even going to call an election? Because if these tariffs are going on, they're still going on. Now our premiers are saying, we're not just cutting off alcohol from the shelves from red states. We're doing it from all of America. And then Ford from Ontario, instead of shutting the power off like a fat pig with rabies mentality, right? He's adding a 25% tariff surcharge on electricity. Did I freeze? Am I good? Anyways, look, there's a lot going on. Sorry. I got all these monitors going on. Everything's glitching out. I got no idea if it's even plugged in right. This is craziness. I got my IT guy sitting right next to me. We're trying to make sure that this is smooth running. Canada is screwed right now. And if they don't do an election sometime soon, if they don't have a federal election right now, we're absolutely doomed. I know there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, there's going to be an election in 10 days, 9 days, 8 more days. He's going to call an election. Look, he may or may not do that. But I personally think that this ongoing tariff war, the trade war between Canada and America, or Canada and China now, and everyone's going to be taxing Canada, 25% tariffs on Canada. Let's pick on Canada. Look, that is only helping the Liberals right now because they're the only ones that are actually able to do anything really. And I think that we're in for a extremely bumpy ride. So welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. Let's smash that like button. Don't just hit it. Smash it, baby. Come on. Let's get hundreds of likes in there. Let's get some more people going into this stream because we got quite a few things to take a look at right now. Starting off with this news piece right here. I can't believe this. This is old. Okay, this is 2 years old. It's from 2020, or I guess 3 years. Where's time going? Marco Mendicino was misunderstood when he said police asked for the Emergencies Act. Let's just take a little look at this old clip because Marco is coming back with a vengeance.
In person?
Yeah, good to see you, David.
I want to go back to that, the cabinet discussions you were having. The protests are underway. The Windsor Bridge is blocked. Coots is happening. The protest is here. And we heard from Minister Lametti, Minister Blair, probably from you, that the police have all the authorities they need to deal with it. The Windsor blockade gets cleared. And then something changed and you declared the Emergencies Act. That was the sequence of events. Windsor's done. What happened or what was the information that you and your cabinet colleagues got that said, no, we need the Emergencies Act now?
Well, at the time, we were looking not only at one particular port of entry, but the entire country.
We had Emerson, we had Coots.
You got it.
Yeah.
White Rock at the Pack Highway in BC, where, by the way, people who were engaging in the blockade had taken an armored vehicle and rammed it into a barricade that had been set up by the CBSA.
Yeah, right.
Real threat not only to law enforcement, but to other people who were trying to get through. We had the situation in Emerson in Manitoba. I recently had the chance to go there, where there were obstructions to important critical supply chains.
Okay, so anyways, the point of this, the TLDR, it's boring, it's Marco. Look, we're going to move on from him. The reason I'm bringing him up is because he's coming back into the picture, all right? So this just hit the shelves a few minutes ago. That's why I won't go. That's why I'm going live. It's because of you, Marco. My heart goes out to you. Insiders say Mark Carney has a new chief of staff and he's a Toronto MP. Carney is currently meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau ahead of meeting of the Liberal caucus in Ottawa. Why are they even using Trudeau's name anymore? Come on. I mean, I used him in the thumbnail. Never mind. Undo that. Mark Carney's chosen a Toronto MP and former public safety minister Marco Mendicino in his first as his first chief of staff, the first pick that Mark Carney does is Marco Mendicino, who illegally invoked the Emergencies Act when there was a trucker convoy and a peaceful protest that took place in Ottawa. So right now, let's look at what's actually on the table. An ongoing trade war. And we all know that this is grounds for using emergency powers. It's come right out of the horse's mouth. The horse's mouth, Mark Carney himself. He has said that he could use emergency powers. He wants to use emergency powers to finish certain projects. Well, what does that even mean? The pipeline? You're against the pipeline, bro. You're a climate radical environmentalist freak. No. So what does emergency powers look like? Well, we all know that trade war is going to affect the Canadian economy, and we're bracing for it. But Trump keeps going, well, we're going to pause it for right now. It's coming. It's coming hard. It's going to come. So at some point, eventually, when we do get hit with the full effects of these tariffs and we have reciprocal to the reciprocal to the reciprocal, whatever the hell is going on, we're in a trade war. It's going to hurt our economy. That's grounds to use some form of emergency powers. So who do they take the bag, or who do they bring out of the bag as the first guy, right? It's like in school and you get 2 leaders and you get to pick your team. He's picking all the freaking rejects from the last administration. Like, this is nuts. This is nuts. I can't believe it. They're picking the guy who illegally invoked the freaking War Measures Act. Come on, man. In a time where he can actually invoke the War Measures Act because of a trade war. Oh, we're so freaking screwed. After a landslide victory, Mark Carney meets with Trudeau as transition to power begins. Liberal MP Marco Mendicino serving as chief of staff through the transition, sources say. This is freaking nuts, dude. Prime Minister-designate Mark Carney met with Trudeau Monday as new Liberal leader takes the reins of power after a landslide victory in Sunday's party election. Carney told reporters at Parliament Hill that the meeting was long and they discussed the most pressing issues of the day, Canada and U.S. relations, and another matter of national security. He said the government handover will be seamless and quick, and he said his official swearing in will happen in short order. The good news is you'll be seeing probably more of me than you want, he joked. We'll be back soon. I don't like that at all. I don't want to see him at all. This is weird, man. 120,000 people. 120,000 people. You know my video of me getting attacked by the media because they showed up at the legislature in Victoria? I think that has 120,000 views. Like, everybody who watched that video basically just voted for the new prime minister of our country. That to me is absurd. I know it's legal. I get it. We've had Mulroney or something like that, and he was an unelected prime minister. I get it. I get that it can happen, but it doesn't mean that it's right, and it doesn't mean that I have to agree with it. It can still be legal and greasy. Abso-freaking-lutely. Let's take a look at this little clip.
Why do you think you won?
Change. Canadians, number one, sense that we need a leader of stature, a leader of experience, and someone whose priority will be squarely focused on our economic needs. Obviously, beating back this threat from our southern neighbours, but more generally, building the Canadian economy.
I think Mr. Carney is what Canada needs as a whole. Not necessarily liberal, conservative, independent. I think Mark Carney is what Canada needs.
But there are people that have joined across the country explicitly who have told me, I've never voted Liberal before, but I'll be voting Liberal this election because of Mark Carney's leadership. So, look, we're in a better place as a party. The work of government has to continue, and obviously we have considerations about getting a mandate from the Canadian people at some point soon. That'll be for our incoming Prime Minister to make those choices. But we're in a good place.
There's a lot at stake right now, and I think Mr. Carney is very well placed to deal with the American administration. I believe much better than Mr. Poilievre. I've known Mr. Poilievre for probably 24 years, and I think Mr. Carney is a very good man for this moment, and I hope that we can convince the Canadian people of that very fact.
How is he better? Like, there's no substance to anything they're saying. They're not backing up any of their claims. They're just saying words, and the American media is regurgitating it out or giving them a platform. How is Mark Carney better situated to negotiate with President Trump? Like, no one can answer. Okay, he was a banker. Okay, that's great. He's been in a form of spotlight before on the world stage. Okay, yeah, I can understand those things. Why doesn't he say that? Right? They're not even trying to defend him in any sort of way. They're just putting out these blanket statements that a bunch of sheep in Canada are going, oh yeah, no, that's awesome. I absolutely believe that. I don't get this at all. Even when you look at the patriotism level of the two candidates, right? You got Mark Carney, who took a Mr. Burns photo as a goalie, right, for hockey. That weird freaking meme, right, where he's being goalie and he's like, he's thinner than a baguette. Like his arms are thinner than a baguette. Like, come on, bro. Like, go to the gym or do something. And then you got Pierre, who gets up on stage and he talks about Canada's history for war and how we've been, we've been a respected country, we've been peacekeepers. Like, I'm not going to try and quote Pierre because I'm not that freaking into it, right? But when he gives speeches, like his Canada First rally that he did in Ottawa or something a week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, man, his speech was so captivating. He's talking about the actual history of Canada. What the hell has Carney ever talked about the history of Canada? Has he talked about any of that stuff? Look, he very well may have. Maybe I just haven't seen it. But I haven't seen him do any of that. And I'm in the mix. I'm tapped into politics by an IV. And I have not seen Mark Carney brag about Canadian history, talk about our culture to any capacity whatsoever. So not that you have to be super plugged into our culture to be prime minister, but shouldn't you be? Shouldn't you be a bit of a history buff and know these things, right? Know about how many people died in World War II. Like, I'm not saying no sound bites, but you should know about Canadian culture to the point where you can say it off the dome and it's believable. I've never seen Mark Carney do that. I actually, whenever Mark Carney talks, it doesn't seem believable at all. Not to mention his lack of discussing Canadian culture, Canadian heritage. So right there's some huge red flags. You're bringing in a corporate schmuck who wears a suit and tie and has a history with numbers to run our country. But how are his roots tied to Canadian culture? I want a patriotic person. I want someone who's maybe been a farmer or who has ties to being a farmer in Saskatchewan or Manitoba, like someone who has deep roots of Canadian culture, not some schmuck who hasn't lived in this country for the past 11 years, right? Or is part of the World Economic Forum, right? One of the big bosses there. Like, it's just weird. He's barely Canadian, right? He's barely Canadian. But Canada first, right? Canada first, or whatever the Liberals are saying. Elbows up! Elbows up! That's a greasy thing to do, isn't it? I played hockey like my entire childhood. I don't think I've ever heard of elbows up. Doesn't that mean they're coming in to body check you and you're supposed to put your elbows up to hit them? So that would be a penalty, would it not? Elbowing. When your elbow goes too high in hockey, that's a penalty. So Liberals are trying to, put out this messaging that you should be basically kicking people in their shins, like, or elbows up, elbow them in the face. It's just freaking weird, man. Come on, folks. He's not even Canadian, Mark Carney. Give me a break.
A new era is starting. We now have a new leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, a new Prime Minister, and I think we can be confident for the next steps.
New energy, a lot of old Liberals who had participated in this leadership race, and a lot of new...
Come on, speak up. Can barely hear you.
And so that revitalization and that new energy is great moving forward. And there's that sense of optimism, of strong leadership with our new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, leading us forward.
I'm feeling enormously optimistic. I actually think we have a lot of momentum, and I think for all the right reasons, he is the right guy to be able to deal with Donald Trump. And I think.
Okay, so I'm going to say something that's going to be unpopular, but just bear with me. And I'm just going off the cuff, but Liberal MPs, as much as I disagree with them, if you've gone through the process of being a member of parliament, it doesn't matter if it's conservative or NDP, or in this case, Liberal, like this guy right here, Harry Potter, right? Or all of these other schmucks that have been talking, Melanie Joly. at least they went through the process of being a federal MP, and they've been in politics. And, to some extent, you have to be pretty patriotic Canadian to get to that point, right? You got to campaign. You got to go through a process. Like, I hate these people. I dislike them. I think that they're ruining our country. I don't know if I hate them, but I very strongly dislike them. But at least Mélanie Joly, at least like Chrystia Freeland, like she's a federal MP, right? Like that takes a lot of time and devotion of your life to get to that point. At least they walked through those steps and committed their life's work to that craft. Mark Carney, I understand that he doesn't have to be an MP. I get it. Freaking Mulroney wasn't. I get that that's a loophole. But man, he hasn't walked any walk. He hasn't talked any talk. He hasn't done nothing to deserve to be our prime minister right now. And this is what's so freaking weird is like, it's almost like a Kamala Harris, right? Like Trudeau just got Joe Biden. Like you were forced to resign because you were tanking the polls and they brought in somebody else. But at least Kamala in America, like I don't like her either, but at least she devoted her life to, working for the government. Mark Carney hasn't, man. He hasn't at all. He's done the private industry. He's done banking, a contractor, all that stuff. He's not a freaking politician. He's not a politician. He's got no devotion to our country's politics, to our heritage, nothing. The only thing he's been saying that he thinks relates to people is elbows up. Most liberals don't play sports, so they don't know that reference for hockey. It's not really that popular of a reference for Canada. Like I played hockey my entire childhood. My coaches weren't saying, okay, guys, that's why we got to go beat this team. Keep your elbows up and it's stick on the ice. We all know that. Not elbows up. That's freaking weird. And this whole Canada Strong thing, he's just using these little keywords to pander to people. And it just stinks. It reeks of disgust. I don't know, corruption, manipulation. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but it doesn't end there. So if you've been here since the introduction or the start of this live stream, you would have heard me say that previous House Speaker Anthony Rota, who invited the Nazi into Parliament, well, he's going to be addressing the country tomorrow. I know, it's crazy. The guy invited a Nazi. He lost his position as the Judge Judy of Canadian politics, as the House Speaker, right? Pretty disgracefully. Like that was a big mistake for him to do that, to invite a Nazi into Parliament. And this is what's happening. They're letting the guy who invited a Nazi into Parliament to make an announcement on behalf of the government of Canada. GC Newsroom. MP Rhoda to make a Government of Canada announcement to help attract skilled newcomers to meet the workforce needs of northeastern Ontario. I can't believe this is happening. But there you go. Anthony Rhoda, Member of Parliament for Nipissing, Timiskaming, will announce a Government of Canada investment to attract skilled newcomers to fill employment gaps in small and rural communities in northeastern Ontario. The announcement will be made on behalf of the Honourable Patty Hajdu, Minister of Indigenous Services and Minister responsible for FedNor. MP Rhoda and event participants will be available for questions from the media following the announcement. The only thing I would ask him, if I were there, or for any independent media that's going to this, I mean, politely, you don't want to be, you got to be careful how you word things, but politely ask them, why do you believe that you deserve this type of platform after inviting a Nazi into Parliament and getting everyone to glorify him? Like, that's a pretty big mistake, right? A pretty huge mess up, or that's just left in the past and maybe they don't want to bring that up, but kind of weird. I don't like it. I don't like how the Liberals they run the media. The media has been providing softball questions to Mark Carney, to the Liberal candidates, and everything is just, it's like this massive nepotism wave. It's weird. It's weird, and I'm seeing it evolve, and I'm disgusted by it. All right, now let's take a look at what Pierre Poilievre has to say about all this. He did a press conference earlier this morning, And he's not happy. He's not happy with what's going on, right? His big shtick around Carney is carbon tax Carney, but I feel like that's going to have to evolve because the whole carbon tax, like that, every candidate that ran for the Liberal leadership race, they all said they were going to cut the consumer pricing on carbon and blah, 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 right? So they're reversing their stance on the carbon tax. So we gotta come up with new nicknames because carbon tax Carney is not going to cut it. He needs something better. Let's take a look at what Pierre's got to say.
Justin Trudeau's economic advisor as the next Liberal leader to trick Canadians into giving Liberals a fourth term in power. But he's just like Justin, and he's more of the same. We have the same Liberal MPs, the same Liberal advisors, the same Liberal promises, who will produce the same Liberal results. Doubling housing costs, doubling the debt, doubling lineups at food banks, enriching the global elites at the expense of the working class, and making our economy more helpless and reliant on the Americans than ever before.
Whatever you do, do not say make our economy great again. Oh my God, he's going to get eaten alive by the media if he says that. To me, that's fine. To me, that's great. Say make our economy great again. That's a phenomenal statement. Like, just objectively speaking, our economy is not great. Our economy used to be great. It would be nice if he were to be able to make our economy great once again. Maybe throw in once again. But he's got to be careful because everything Pierre is saying, if it's at all close or similar or a little bit adjacently parallel to what Trump has said or is currently saying, then he gets immediately lumped into MAGA. He's MAGA, right? And look, I don't inherently have a problem with MAGA. Hell, I was accused by the media of being MAGA myself. Maple MAGA or whatever the hell, CTV, which is still mind-blowing, right? I got called MAGA by CTV or Trump enthusiast or whatever. I like Trump. I think that he's a freaking wild card and he's very entertaining. But I think Pierre needs to, man, Canadians are so fragile. You're not fragile. I'm not fragile when it comes to this stuff. But a lot of supporters of Canadian politics, a lot of voters in Canada are extremely fragile. And I don't know how good it is for Pierre to be that close to MAGA, right? That's what I don't know. I'm not sure because we've seen them, or he just leans into it. He just leans in. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer or the statistics to be able to give you a truthful, like, educated opinion on whether Pierre should be a little bit MAGA or not. I think that we do need a little bit of MAGA, but Canada is not ready for Republican. Canada is not ready for a Canadian Republican Party, right? The closest thing to that would be the purple guys, right? The PPCs, and they just can't get off the ground, right? So I think if Pierre goes a little bit too far into the MAGA, it might hurt him a little bit, right? Or he just says screw it and does it anyways. I don't have the answer, but let's get back to what he's saying.
Now, Mark Carney is trying to hide from his record over the last 5 years of advising Trudeau in favor of raising carbon taxes, money printing inflation, and blocking resource projects, all while he moved his company headquarters and jobs to the United States. You know, it's ironic. Mr. Carney is trying to distract from his many scandals and conflicts of interest, as well as his disastrous record as Justin Trudeau's economic advisor, by talking about Trump. He's the guy that sold out to Trump. 6 days after Donald Trump threatened Canada with tariffs to steal our jobs, Mark Carney announced to Brookfield shareholders that he would move his headquarters from Canada to New York. And when you asked him about it, he lied to your face. We got it in writing and we proved it. He sold out Canada. He put his profit ahead of our people. And he did exactly what Donald Trump wanted. Never before have we had a Prime Minister so conflicted and compromised and yet so little scrutinized. Just like when he supported carbon taxes in Canada while investing in American coal. He opposed Canadian pipelines while his company bought Middle East pipelines. He has millions.
But now Carney's saying that he's going to do the pipelines. I heard that. I was driving back home yesterday. Man, what a freaking crazy drive that was. Like that was a 13-hour day. That was a 13-hour trip. But I heard Mark Carney. My wife was playing the stream for me so I could hear it on the drive. And Mark Carney said at his victory speech that he's going to build the pipeline. I believe that was yesterday. Maybe I'm getting all the days mixed up, man. I'm coming off of a December 18th Christmas vacation. That just ended, I guess, this morning. So I'm still like trying to catch up mentally. I know I've been making videos, but I haven't been like plugged in with an IV drip the way I am right now, right? If I'm here, if this is the background, I'm freaking plugged in. But I'm pretty sure yesterday, Mark Carney's victory speech was, we're going to build the pipeline and blah, blah, blah. And from the west, from Alberta to Quebec. And the crowd was like looking around. Yeah. Right? They looked for confirmation bias that they could actually clap to that. So they're reversing everything that they've stood on. And this is the spineless stuff that I hate about politics. I hate this. Even when the conservatives do it. Okay? But we're not going to focus on them right now. I hate when a party stands for something and they pressure test it and it's not getting the reaction that they want, so they go a different way. And that different way is a complete reversal. The Liberal Party, every single freaking Liberal MP was pushing carbon tax, price on pollution, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, our ears were bleeding. Our ears were freaking bleeding when they were talking about that. And now all of a sudden, all those same people, well, I think that we should cut the consumer carbon price because we're very much having a difficult time with our economy. Like, they're just reversing everything and they're using Trudeau as a scapegoat. Look, I get the tactic, but it's greasy. It's freaking greasy that they're doing. And look, man, the conservatives have done reversals on stuff too, and it's greasy to me. But what Carney's doing right now, he's been anti-oil, anti-gas. Oh, we need to be climate, electric. Everybody drive a Tesla. No, orange man bad, Elon Musk bad. Elon Musk bad, orange man bad. Here's what my wife did. Look at this. Look at that. It's a little RC car. It's part of my background now. Orange man bad, Elon Musk bad. These people are nuts. They reverse on everything. They don't have a spine, man. They don't have a freaking spine. I'm pro the freaking pipeline. But they haven't been pro the pipeline. And now all of a sudden, because they're tanking in the polls and now they're pro, and all the Liberal people are going, yes, the pipeline. We need the pipeline. Like, it's just, even the Liberal supporters, man, they're mentally ill or something. They've got a few loose screws. The Liberals have been anti-oil and gas. They've been buying up those Teslas. And now Elon Musk does, my heart goes out to you. And all of a sudden everything changes. Now they're like, oh, Tesla bad. Boycott Tesla. We need to fix the pipeline. Man, I feel like I'm losing my freaking mind sometimes. Because it's so flip-floppy.
Billions of dollars of financial interests that run against Canada's national interests. He gets rich, making Canadians poor. You can be sure about one thing. Donald Trump's going to have a briefing on his desk of all of Mark Carney's American investments. And he is going to leverage all of Carney's profit motive against the interest of the Canadian people. And we know Carney will sell out Canada for his personal profit. He's already done it. He's systematically done it his entire time as a corporate insider. Giving the Liberals a fourth term will not change any of that. Carney puts himself first. Conservatives will put Canada first. Putting Canada first means cutting bureaucracy and taxes. It means passing a big, beautiful, bring-it-home tax cut, lowering tax rates on work, investment, energy, and home building. It means axing the carbon tax for real, for good, for everyone, forever. It means repealing the Liberal No New Pipelines Law C-69 and instead granting rapid permission to our companies to build more pipelines, more natural gas exports, more data centers, mines, and other natural resources to bring home powerful paychecks and production to our people. We need an east-west pipeline, and we need to say it in both French and English. Nous avons besoin d'une pipeline.
Let's see Carney do that one. Can Carney even speak French, or does he speak Mandarin and English? Has anyone ever heard Carney speak French, or does he sound sloppy? I've never heard Carney speak French. Maybe because I always skip through it. That's good. The seamless transition. Oh, man, that's good. I love that part about Canada. Because French is my first language. I know it's super annoying in the house and stuff, and in videos and live streams we usually skip past it, like what I'm about to do right now. But man, I love how flawlessly Pierre can do that. It's freaking wicked, man. There's something about the brain to be able to just go from one language to the next like that is phenomenal. But we're still going to skip it.
West équivoque on the Americans by building east-west pipelines. We need more interprovincial trade. We need to unleash our free enterprise system to reverse the helplessness that the Liberals have caused over the last 10 years of tax and keep it in the ground extremism. So more than anything, we need to bring back the Canadian promise. In a country where we trade with each other, we produce our own resources, we build homes for our people, we protect our weak and vulnerable while standing up to the Americans abroad. The Canadian promise is that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything. That hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful home, on a safe street, protected by solid borders and brave troops under a proud flag.
Hey man, there's safe streets everywhere in Canada. Everyone has a safe street. We're all on safe supply. Is that what he's talking about? We're all living on safe supply? Or is he talking about safety? Like an actual safe street where there's little to no crime? I don't know if that exists, but if Pierre's talking about safe supply streets, man, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. That's what Canada's founded on, is safe supply streets. That's our culture right now. Come to Canada. We keep our elbows up and we've got crackheads everywhere. And it's all supplied by the federal government. Come on.
Canada. Let's bring it home.
Mr. Poilievre, what economic and diplomatic experience do you have to go up against Donald Trump?
Great question. Great question, because yes, Pierre has been a career politician since he's 24 years old, right? We know that about him. We know that Pierre has not had another job, and that's what the media's told us, right? They've said you haven't had a real job, or Trudeau and Singh and Freeland and blah, 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 blah. They've all said that. So what makes Pierre qualified as a career-long politician, which I don't like career-long politicians. Chances are you don't like career-long politicians. We want a regular guy. Now, Pierre has rebranded himself he's removed the glasses. He's eaten some protein. He's hitting the gym. He's going out talking to regular Canadians. So he's a lot more relatable. He's a lot more relatable to the average person now. That is why I like Pierre, because he seems like a regular guy. He's super witty in the house, right? He's great. He's very enthusiastic about Canada. He knows a lot about our culture and our heritage. Those are all great things that I'm looking for in a prime minister. But what actually makes him qualified to go up against Donald Trump on the world stage? What makes him qualified? Well, let's take a listen.
Oh, quite a lot, actually. So I was the Minister of Jobs and Housing in the Harper government, during which time housing cost half as much as it does today. I helped Mr. Harper cut the GST, cut income tax, cut business tax, and balance the budget. Over my time in Parliament, I've been scrutinizing and studying the books on the Public Accounts Committee, the Operations Committee, the Finance Committee. And if you want any proof that my economic ideas are the best, the Liberals are all trying to pretend that they're copying them right before the election. All the big economic questions of the last 5 years, Mark Carney has been wrong and exactly wrong, and I have been right. I said 5 years ago the money printing would cause inflation. He said deflation was on the horizon. I turned out to be right. I said the carbon tax would drive up food prices, and it did. Drove them up 37% faster in Canada than in the United States of America. I was the first parliamentarian to predict that we would have the inflation crisis, while Carney, Freeland, Trudeau, and others were saying that we would not. I was the first one to be, along with my Conservative colleagues, fighting for pipelines. Pipelines now everyone claims that they support after opposing them for the last 10 years. So if Mr. Carney is so smart on economics, how is it that he was so wrong for so long on all of the economic issues? One thing I don't have...
Until right now, right? Because now everything that Mark Carney stood on for the past 10 years, he's just completely reversed. So pipelines are no longer bad. Pipelines are great. But he's still a climate freak, unless he's talking to a more conservative audience. And pipeline and oil and gas is great. Look, I just saw somebody in the comments say that Canada is doing the exact same playbook as the Democrats in the United States. One is bait and switch the leader. Trudeau just got Joe Biden. Bye-bye. See you later, right? Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Enjoy your ice cream. Two is build your entire campaign on Orange Man bad. Liberals are doing that really hard. And then three is to claim to adopt conservative policies. And I think I remember this as like days before they did the American election. Kamala was like a last ditch effort. I'm going to legalize marijuana federally. Like she just tried to throw that out, if I'm not mistaken. Right? I don't think Trump ever said that. Dude's stone cold sober. He doesn't care about that stuff, right? Not to say if it made sense, he wouldn't consider it to legalize it federally, but I'm pretty sure Kamala just tried to do like a last ditch effort like what Trudeau did, right? Tried to campaign on that. And to be honest, that alone probably really helped Trudeau get elected 9 or 10 years ago, right? But obviously it didn't work in America. So I'm getting confirmation that that's exactly what she did. And so there you go, right? And I just feel like all of these reversals now, if you objectively look on a piece of paper, what Pierre is saying, even in this speech right now, and what Carney and the Liberals are now saying, there's a lot of parallels. There's a lot of parallels. And this is what's so scary about an upcoming election is if people have been fence sitters on whether they want to vote Pierre or not, now that Trudeau's out of the way and there's this new guy who's, going to solve all of our issues. He solved the banking issue, or at least they claim that he solved the banking issue back in 2008. And then he solved the banking or the financial issue and crisis in England in 2013. All of these headline little brochure things, they're probably going to be a lot of people that now that Trudeau's out of the way, they're going to gravitate back to the Liberal Party. And that's what's so scary. That's what's so scary. We need to get Pierre and Carney in the House ASAP, and they need to start debating people. They really need to get back into that and start debating each other, because that's going to give the Conservatives that boost again. Not just the little sound bites and the clips that do phenomenally well on this channel and the other 17 channels that I have, but because it's a platform for Canadians to watch what's going on in politics. I don't think the House of Commons and Question Period has ever been as popular in Canada as it is right now. Like, people are loving the debates. I know it's sissy stuff. It's questions without answers, and it's fake, and it's dumb and blah, blah, blah. But it's an opportunity to see real questions being asked in live time, no edits, and how these politicians can actually handle the stress of being debated in real time. That's something that I really cherish and appreciate over the American system and other countries' parliamentary system or what they've got going on. I love the fact that we have Question Period and you can't hide from the debates for too long. It's going to be freaking awesome. But chances are he's probably going to prorogue again, and you're not going to see him debate in the House, and they're going to control the media and the narrative and whatever happens, right? But okay, let's continue.
Experience with is taking jobs out of Canada, moving them to the United States, selling out our resource workers to support Middle Eastern resource workers. That's not the kind of experience that I have, but that's not the kind of experience that we want.
Despite what you're saying, recent polls are showing that more Canadians trust Mark Carney to deal with Donald Trump rather than you. Why do you think your message is not cutting through and getting through to Canadians?
Canadians have a choice in the next election. Do they want to give the Liberals a fourth term in power after they drove up housing costs, food prices, and taxes, blocked resource projects, and made us more reliant on Trump's America? Or do they want Canada First Conservatives who will axe taxes, build homes, unleash production of our resources, and bring home paychecks, production, and sovereignty to our country?
Mr. Poilievre, what instructions have you given your caucus members and your candidates about wearing MAGA merchandise or using MAGA slogans?
Well, my instruction is that we should put Canada first. We want to put our country first, stand up for our country against both American aggression, but also against the destructive liberal policies that have made us helpless and reliant on the U.S. I have also made it clear to my members of Parliament that we should favor bringing jobs back to Canada, not move them to the United States of America as Mark Carney did when he had the chance.
You still think we're going to have a carbon tax election, considering Mark Carney says he's going to scrap the consumer one?
We are going to have a carbon tax election because Mark Carney has proposed to add another industrial carbon tax on top of the existing one. In days, Donald Trump could impose tariffs on Canadian steel. At the same time as Mark Carney says that he wants a new carbon tax on Canadian steel. By the way, it's not me that says his tax would apply to steel. It's him. In an interview he gave to CTV in Atlanta, Canada a month ago, he claimed that taxing steel was a great idea because people, he says, don't use steel anymore. Well, this building would come crashing down without steel. Automobiles would be impossible to make without steel. Our civilization is, the bones of our civilization is steel. And Mark Carney wants to bring in a big industrial carbon tax on our steel workers at exactly the same time as Trump plans to tariff our steel. The combination of Trump's tariffs and carbon tax, Carney's tax, would destroy our steel sector and threaten our national security.
Cette taxe carbone dont vous parlez, la portion industrielle qui existe déjà, allez-vous la garder? C'est pas clair.
C'est pas clair qu'il veut. Ce qui est clair, il veut ajouter une deuxième taxe industrielle sur le carbone. C'est pas juste la première qui est déjà en place. C'est une deuxième taxe et aussi il faut souligner qu'il a dit
Man, he's pretty good at French.
Si je peux me permettre de répondre à la question. Il a dit que c'est une deuxième taxe qui va lever des milliards de dollars pour financer un système de crédit extrêmement compliqué. Et en fin de compte, ça va appliquer aussi au Québec, la taxe qu'il propose, parce que il a besoin de le faire de façon nationale. Il doit expliquer comment nos travailleurs vont compétitionner contre les Américains avec une deuxième taxe carbone sur nos industries à travers le Canada. En ce qui concerne notre programme pour les élections, vous allez le voir après que l'élection est déclenchée.
Last question. What do you think about Doug Ford?
Ask Mr. Harper about Mr. Carney saying that Mr. Harper offered him the post of finance minister.
Mr. Harper confirmed to me that Mark Carney has taken credit for things he has not done, and that if I could, he said that Mr. Carney he was astonished really at how Mark Carney took credit for things he never did. And at the same time, we know this is a pattern for Mr. Carney. He claimed that he helped Paul Martin balance the budget in 1998. Well, Mark Carney wasn't even in the country or working for the government at that time. He didn't join the government as a bureaucrat until 2004. So this is a consistent pattern of Mark Carney lying to the Canadian people. You know what I find interesting about Mark Carney? He doesn't want to take responsibility for the things he actually did, like advising Trudeau for the last 5 years, but he wants to take credit for things he did not do, like managing Canada's.
Oh no, that was his live stream. Oh, there you go. I mean, how much more could he possibly said? He's trying to take credit for things that he didn't do, right? And he's denying taking credit for things that he did do. Mark Carney stinks, man. Mark Carney stinks, and I think that the Conservatives got a lot of work ahead of them to build up their support and their polling potential. Because there has been a little bit of turbulence, and it's no fault of the Conservatives. I mean, yes, I personally wish that Conservatives were doing and saying more. What does that look like? That that is something that is probably, you should stay tuned this week because there's going to be a lot of cross-contamination, between other creators, right? There's going to be a lot of mix and matching of podcasts. All the other Canadians that are in this niche, there's going to be a lot of collaborations that happen this week to discuss some things. So stay tuned for that because bouncing ideas off with other creators, I think that there's going to be probably some really good advice that people are going to come up with, and it's going to be publicly available for the Conservatives. I do personally think that they should be doing more and saying more because now that Trudeau is out of the way, you have a lot of people that are going to be gravitating back to the Liberal Party. I don't agree with it, but it's happening. Whether you agree with it or not, it's happening. And it's very scary for the Conservatives. Very, very scary. So let's take a look here. We've got a couple other updates. You've got Doug Ford is now saying that he's, instead of cutting off the power to America, he's going to be charging 25% electricity surcharge. That's better. Good job, Doug Ford. Welcome back to reality, sir. Super crazy for him to even be threatening to cut off the power. But here we go. Trade war continues.
Premier Doug Ford is taking another retaliatory step today in the trade war launched by the U.S. on Canada. Our Queen's Park reporter Sean Jeffers joins us with more on this. So, Sean, the Premier targeting the power we sent to a number of American states.
Looks like that guy on the right's been wearing headphones for too long. Holy smokes.
That's right, Dwight. So
like dents in his head.
Ford making good on that promise to apply a surcharge, a 25% surcharge to power that's exported to the United States.
I'm serious. If you, I can't do it on the screen, but on my monitor, I'm placing my thumb in front of my eye and just the top of his head is over my thumb. And he looks like a thumb. That's all I'm saying.
Specifically to 3 states, to New York, Michigan, and Minnesota. So the Premier says this will impact 1.5 million consumers there, businesses, homes, and it will just add additional costs to them. And he's saying that really that will generate more revenue for the province, which it will use $400,000 a day to help fight the tariffs and really help workers and businesses that are impacted by them. Let's hear from Premier Ford about this decision today.
This surcharge will cost families and businesses in these states up to $400,000 each and every single day. On an average, this will add around $100 per month to the bills of hardworking Americans.
So right there, the Premier really trying to emphasize the impact on the individual there, Dwight, talking about the cost that regular Americans will incur. And he thinks that this is really the path to ensuring that the message that these tariffs will have a negative impact on Canada, but also the United States is how you reach U.S. President Donald Trump, who has put them on, taking them off, reverse course a number of times, but has threatened to impose them again on April the 2nd. The Premier has said, though, that he has not ruled out cutting off electricity supply to the U.S. as well.
So, Sean, you said this already. Ontario provides power to about 1.5 million customers in 3 states. How will this then affect people in the U.S.?
Well, that is the question, Dwight. And experts that I've spoken to have a range of opinions. They say that this is a very small amount of electricity that is sold by Ontario to these U.S. states. And they talk about the fact that the U.S. probably has workarounds, ways to get around it. But what it does is it complicates
I can't get over it, man. I bought my wife this little hard-boiled egg device from like Canadian Tire. It's got like 4 or 5 or 6 little eggs. You add a little bit of water, you plug it in, you poke a little hole in the egg, and then when 8, 10, 12, 15 minutes, however long it takes, the little chime happens and you got hard-boiled eggs. Super easy, super convenient. So we keep the old egg cartons of a dozen eggs or whatever, and we just fill those with hard-boiled eggs, and we label it right with a Sharpie on the actual carton, hard-boiled eggs. So I got so many eggs in my fridge. I have so many eggs in my fridge, and I'm telling you, this guy looks like an egg. I can't help it, man. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry, but I've seen like 30 hard-boiled eggs in the past week. Okay, that's all I see is eggs everywhere. The greatest eggs, the most amount of eggs. Now he's on my screen.
Intertwined, a grid that has been built over the last number of decades and shares power, peak load, when there is demand throughout the system over, any given day. So, the experts say that it may not have a massive impact in terms of the cost, but there could be cost increases and also reliability issues in the United States. So here's Energy Minister, or former Energy Minister, Brad Dogood, talking about the impact that he sees this potentially having.
So they'll either have to pay 25% more for their power and utilize Ontario's power or electricity, or they'll find alternative sources of power that in all likelihood are more costly than.
So why aren't these people saying that this is a big reversal from what Doug Ford was initially saying, right? I mean, Doug Ford was coming out guns blazing and he was saying that he was going to shut off the power. Why aren't you hearing people saying, well, this is a lot better than shutting off the power? Why aren't they saying that? Are they ignoring it, trying to pretend like he never said that? Like, that's some crazy radical things to say. We're going to shut off the freaking power, man. Oh my goodness. Apparently he's just said it on CNN.
For weeks now, we've been faced with
1 hour ago, Ontario Premier threatens to shut off electricity completely for US if trade war escalates. Like, what is this guy on? Why is he saying that?
So much uncertainty.
March 10th, this just happened. So is it 25% electricity or is it cutting off the power? Like, he's still going.
Coming from President Trump. Each day brings new tariff threats. Now, President Trump is threatening tariffs on steel and aluminum. He's pointing his finger at dairy and lumber, shifting timelines, different excuses, chaos and confusion. It's hurting workers, it's hurting businesses, it's hurting investments, and it's hurting families on both sides of the border. It needs to end. That's why I've been crystal clear. Until these tariffs are off the table, until the threat of tariffs is gone for good, Ontario will not relent. We will not back down, pausing some tariffs, making last-minute exemptions. It won't cut it. We need to end the chaos once and for all. We need to sit down, work together, and land a fair deal. A deal that gives businesses the confidence to invest. A deal that gives workers the security they need and deserve. Until then, Ontario will keep up the fight. We will apply maximum pressure to maximize our leverage. That's why today we're moving forward with a 25% surcharge on electricity.
Okay, we know that.
For the 1.5 million American homes and businesses that Ontario powers, homes and businesses in Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. This surcharge will cost families and businesses in these states up to $400,000 each and every single day. On an average, this will add around $100 per month to the bills of hardworking Americans. Let me be clear. Hesitate to increase this charge.
When people say, let me be clear, man, I freaking hate that. That's one of the cringiest things that I say. Let me be clear. Like, were you not being clear until you said that? Why are you adding in, let me be clear?
If necessary, if the United States escalates, I will not hesitate to shut the electricity off completely.
There he goes.
Believe me when I say I do not want to do this.
The fat pig with rabies, he's still going at it. He's still going at it. Like, what the hell is wrong with Doug Ford? You just said you're adding 25% tariffs to electricity, and then you're saying if it continues, and he didn't put a time frame on it. He said if it continues, then we're going to cut off their power. Can somebody please tell me what the actual fuck is wrong with Doug Ford? I'm not trying to defend America, but that's insane. That is insane for a Canadian politician to be saying that we're going to cut the power off. Oh my goodness, man. This is insane, dude. That's an act of war. You can Google it. You can go on Google. I'm going to do it right now. Is shutting off the power. Let's see here. Let me do it right now. Let's take a look. Is shutting off the power to another country an act of war? Okay. Wars, I don't know. I posted it already. Let's see here. An act of war is an action by one country against another that is tended to start a war. It also refers to an action that happens during an armed conflict or declared war. Military occupation, blockade, allowing one's territory to be used, invasion or attack by armed forces, declaration of war, hostiles exist between them. I mean, Russia, if Russia shuts down the U.S. power grid, would this be an act of war? Right on Quora, right? A big yes. You can see the answer is oh, I'm blocking it with my camera. My bad. A big yes. Right on Quora. I'm not going to click it, but you can see it right here. Attacking critical infrastructure of another nation is an act of war. Quora answers this right here. Are you freaking kidding me, man? And this guy's advocating for an act of war, and our media is silent on it. In fact, when I brought this up, the mainstream media attacked me for calling him a fat pig with rabies, completely negating the fact that he's advocating for a literal freaking act of war. This is insane.
I feel terrible for the American people because it's not the American people who started this trade war. It's one person who's responsible. That's President Trump. I'd rather be working together. I want to sell the U.S. more energy, more electricity, more critical minerals. I want to make Canada and the United States the richest, most successful, safest, most secure two countries on the planet. But as Premier, my number one job is to protect the people of Ontario and in hand protect the people of Canada. I will do whatever it takes. I will fight like I've never fought before to protect Ontario. Friends, none of this makes sense. Costly tariffs against your closest friends and allies do not make sense. The U.S. markets have lost trillions in value. Companies are second-guessing investments into the American economy. American workers' jobs are at risk as we speak right now. Cost of hardworking American families will only go up. It doesn't have to be this way. We are stronger when we work together. I hope we can get back to working together, creating jobs, growing our economies, lowering costs for families in both countries. We don't get there by easing up. We will remain strong. We will be relentless. We will do whatever it takes to protect Ontario.
In addition to the...
This is on CNN. Come on, dude. You know, at this point, I almost want him to do it. Why not? Just do it. What's the worst that can happen? It's not an act of war, right? No mainstream media has been reporting on it. Just do it. Cut the power off, Doug Ford. You know what? I'm gonna support the Liberals. In fact, let me be clear. I think that if Doug Ford, the Ontario Premier, wants to cut off the power to America, then he should go ahead and do it. Ontario voted for this. The mainstream media doesn't have an issue with this. Our politicians don't seem to have an issue with this. So let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. If this is what Doug Ford wants to do, then he should do it. Nothing bad will come of it because it's legal to do that. So let me be ultra clear. Mr. Sunshine Baby endorses the fact that Doug Ford should shut off the power to America. Why not? It's not an act of war. It's legal, bro. He should do it. He's been saying about it. Our media is talking about it, and they're supporting it. Why not? I seem to be the only one that's saying it's an act of war. So let me be clear. It's not an act of war, and Doug Ford should shut off the power to America. You got my endorsement, buddy. Come on. Come on. Watch the media take that clip out of context as if it wasn't freaking me being facetious and sarcastic, eh? Come on. Are you kidding me? Cutting off the power? Let me be clear. That's a great idea. Well, let's see what CNN's got to say.
New retaliatory tariffs from China. Canada's tariffs on the U.S. are still in place. Last week, it put a 25% levy on things like beer, fruit and vegetables, shoes, cosmetics, and more. And today, Ontario starts charging a 25% surcharge on electricity to 3 U.S. states, Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. The tariff war and opposition to President Trump has actually unified Canadians. Listen to these remarks from Mark Carney, who's expected to be Canada's next prime minister. He was just elected to head the Liberal Party yesterday, soon potentially to be sworn in as PM.
The Canadian government has rightly retaliated and is rightly retaliating with our own tariffs that will have maximum impact.
Yeah, we should shut off their power too.
Minimum impact here in Canada. And my government will keep our tariffs on until the Americans show us respect.
Let's discuss with Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, which is the province that started to impose that surcharge.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm finding out that right now in real time that the Premier of Ontario, or of British Columbia, David Eby, just called me out. David Eby just called me out. Let's take a look. David Eby's calling out Mr. Sunshine, a far-right YouTuber with extremist views. MSP, you are famous now. You have officially pissed off the radical left-wing Socialist Party. Let's go.
See Conservatives, 3 MLAs, no longer part of that caucus. It should be an interesting question period today. What's your reaction? What are your thoughts on this? We're going to see maybe an additional fourth party in the House. What are your thoughts generally on what unfolded in the last few days?
Yeah, I think, John Rostad did the right thing. It took him too long, but he did do the right thing. It's necessary to stand up for residential school survivors. It's necessary to stand up for our partnership with Indigenous people in this province. That's the way forward for this province to grow our economy and ensure everybody's vote rises. And so that's good. He has some more work to do around members of his caucus that are expressing openly anti-Canadian perspectives, pro-Trump perspectives. And I would encourage him to not stop here, to ensure that his members reflect the values that we all have as Canadians. And I'll just cite a couple of examples. The fact that members of his caucus that are still there couldn't bring themselves to vote to condemn tariffs, to target Republican states, to be part of Team Canada, that they voted against that motion is a very troubling sign. The fact that Brian Tepper stood up in the House and introduced as a patriot a YouTuber that literally apologized to the United States for Canada's retaliation, who called Doug Ford's electricity tariff a war crime. This was a man introduced in the legislature by a Conservative member as a patriot. So John's got some work to do if he wants to ensure that the extremist views in his party are addressed.
Yeah, because I was in the military, you fucking dumbass. What do you mean? Bro, you look like Woody from Toy Story, but who's got all the stuffings removed from him. You look deflated. All right, you want something? Here you go. Here you go. Editor, clip this. I, Mr. Sunshine Baby, Jasper Sunshine, fully endorse David Eby, the leader of the NDP of British Columbia. I fully endorse him. I think that my views personally align best with him. There you go. Throw that out there. Oh my goodness. These people are freaking insane. Why are politicians saying, I should have renamed, you know what? I might change this channel from Mr. Sunshine Baby to Harry Bolzania or Mike Oxbig. Like just something that's funny, because I'm sick and tired of these people saying Mr. Sunshine Baby. I mean, it's funny. It's pretty funny. I can't believe it's happening. Oh my goodness. Hey, Mom, I'm famous. Dude, my family's like all liberal. Oh, my goodness. I can't talk politics with my family because they're liberal, just like a lot of people's family, right? And I don't think I have radical views. Guys, am I a right wing? What did he call me? A far right YouTuber with extreme views? Is that really me? Am I a far right person? I feel like I got the first 2 COVID shots. I mean, how far right am I really? I believe in bodily autonomy. I regret getting them. Absolutely. I fucking 100% regret getting them. I was living in my van at the time. and I was relying on going to Anytime Fitness for a shower, even though I had a shower in my van, but for exercise. And I needed to show my vaccine passport. And so I got both vaccines, the first and the second shot, because I needed to go. I wanted to go to the gym and exercise. It's crazy, right? That I did that to my body, and I regret it 100%. I regret it 100%. But I believe in bodily autonomy. Apparently, that I'm a far right extremist who's double vaxxed, who believes in bodily autonomy. Oh my goodness. Hey, he's not in Parliament, right? He's not in Parliament, so that's not under. Can I sue him for that? Because that's not under protected by Parliament or whatever. Parliamentary privilege. David Eby saying my name. That's it. I'm renaming this channel to Harry Bolzania or something like that. This is freaking funny. Unbelievable. I'm gonna watch this again. I'm gonna watch part of it. All right, here we go. This is funny.
Grow our economy and ensure everybody's vote rises, and so that's good. He has some more work to do around members of his caucus that are expressing openly anti-Canadian perspectives, pro-Trump perspectives, and I would encourage him to not stop here, to ensure that his members reflect the values that we all have as Canadians. And I'll just cite a couple of examples. The fact that members of his caucus that are still there couldn't bring themselves to vote to condemn tariffs, to target Republican states, to be part of Team Canada, that they voted against that motion is a very troubling sign. The fact that Brian Tepper stood up in the House and introduced as a patriot, a YouTuber that
Okay, man. Patriot because I was in the military for like 9 years or close to it, right? Not a, I don't think he said a patriot because of a YouTube channel. I think he just said patriot because I'm in the military. It's even in the description of my YouTube channel, right? I don't talk about it. There's nothing to talk about. In fact, I absolutely hate talking about that part of my life, but I indeed was in the military, right? Does that make you a patriot? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you guys to decide, right? So what? Now he's hitting on he's hating on freaking veterans? Is David Eby anti-vet? Is that a spin? Like, come on, bro. Look, my relationship with the BC Conservatives, to clear the air, is nothing. I don't have a relationship with these people at all. I went to the BC AGM, the BC Conservative Annual General Meeting, as media because I have a YouTube channel. I'm not friends with any of these people. They're not friends with me. That's all. That's the end of it, right? And it was brought to my attention that because I have multiple channels, Mistersunshinebaby being my largest channel, my second largest being House of Canada, where I cover every single question period that happens, it was brought to my attention that I should go to question period at the BC legislators. So I did. And I was introduced because of my military service or involvement, and the fact that that I have a couple large YouTube channels in Canadian politics. That's it, right? That's it. So trying to link the Conservative, the BC party, to me is insane, right? I'm not friends with them, not at all. I don't know them, right? I have no idea who they are at all. There's no involvement whatsoever. So let's just create that distance right there. It doesn't exist. And I probably, if I had reached out to a BC or the NDP side for the BC and said, hey guys, hey, Mr. Eby, Premier, I would like to come and watch question period. I've never attended. I'm a military veteran. Would I be able to come? They would say, oh, absolutely. Would you like to be introduced? Right? Like, that's how that works. So the fact that they're, anyways, let's go back to watching this. Man, it's so weird seeing my name being thrown out on the news like this.
Literally apologized to the United States for Canada's retaliation, who called Doug Ford's electricity tariff a war crime.
But it is, though. But it is. I'm not apologizing to America for... Look, I'm apologizing... Okay, so I think that this trade war is unnecessary. I think that this trade war is ridiculous. I don't think that we should be engaging in a trade war at all. The fact that we have a premier of this country Doug Ford, who is wanting to cut off the power to 1.5 million homes. Dude, Russia hasn't done that to Europe. Israel threatened to do that, or they did do that to Gaza, and there was a massive uproar by these people, by David Eby's type of voters and supporters, right? That's insane. That's insane to cut off the power to another country. It absolutely is a war crime to do that. It should be considered. So, but good thing I support cutting off the power, right? As I said a few minutes ago, I fully endorse Doug Ford's ability to cut off the power. And I fully endorse David Eby's safe supply of drugging up our entire province. Why not, folks? If you can't beat him, join him. David Eby, my heart goes out to you. I absolutely love and endorse you. I, for one, love the fact that we have safe supply in this province. I think you're doing a phenomenal job. And out of every other politician in British Columbia, David Eby, your views align best with mine. There you go. Far-right YouTuber endorses David Eby.
This was a man introduced in the legislature by a Conservative member as a patriot. So
because I was in the military.
John's got some work to do if he wants to ensure that the extremist views in his party are addressed.
Okay. All righty then. They're still running with that, eh? Aren't we a new week? Like, I went to the legislature a week ago, and then there was a whole media spin last week, and now David Eby's still going on about it. This is crazy. Wow. Thanks for that. Thanks for that clip. Holy shit, man. This is nuts. Who would have thought that Mr. Sunshine Baby would be at the center of the media here in British Columbia? I've already received death threats. Because of this. Let me pull it up right now. I'm going to pull this up. Just give me a second here. Okay. Make sure everything's good. Okay. I just need 1 second. I'm already receiving death threats because of this, because they said that I'm a resident of Prince George. So I might have to move because of this bad press, actually. But I'm going to show you how bad it is for these people to spin this the way that they've been spinning it. I just need a second, man. I had it before. I don't know where it went. Here, let's start watching this, and I'm going to try and find it.
Canada will soon have a new prime minister for the first time in nearly a decade. Mark Carney won a resounding vote on the first ballot, and he will replace Justin Trudeau. He's the new leader and the prime minister designate. In his victory speech, he thanked supporters and vowed to stand up for the Canadian way of life.
I pledge to you and to all Canadians that I will follow their example. I will work day and night with one purpose, which is to build a stronger Canada for everyone.
So that was the former central banker, now prime minister designate. The expectation is he will call an election in the shorter term, coming days and weeks. Let's bring you some expert analysis from Chris Hall this morning, our former national affairs editor in our CBC bureau in Ottawa, now managing principal and political strategist at Navigator, and he is in Ottawa. Welcome back, Chris. Glad to see you today.
Nice to see you, Heather. Thanks for having me on.
Because a new political era has dawned here in the country with All
right, nobody cares about that. New political era. This country's going to shit. Look, we're going to watch this here, and I'm going to show you that I've actually been receiving. This is how it starts. By politicians calling out private citizens the way that they're doing. I'm not far right at all, and my entire viewer audience can vouch for that. But this is how scary this shit. This is a slippery slope, guys. Like, yeah, it is funny to say, hey, look, man, I'm in the media and stuff. But look at this. You go to Reddit, the Prince George Reddit 4 days ago, homegrown maple MAGA traitor. I came across this article this morning to learn that we've got a Russian MAGA, zero difference, YouTube propagandist here at home. I cannot fully express... Viscerally, it's hitting it hits, seen someone calling themselves a Canadian who is so ready to capitulate to the now hostile, overly fascist administration down south. And that links to the CTV article, I believe. The CTV article that was about me, right? So if we go and we take a look down here, they call me, apparently I'm a freedom YouTuber. I don't know if I've ever said that. But let's go down here where you've got some deleted posts. Deleted post. Comment removed by moderator. Someone says, not cool, man. And then they replied again. Comment deleted by user. You don't like the guy, fine, but now you're starting a witch hunt for him because of his political views. You're all exposing yourselves as dangerous NPCs. It's exactly the same as COVID. People like you are the same people who called the cops on folks for having 3 to 4 people over for a couple of beers a few years ago. Mic drop. And you can see the moderator of Prince George Reddit said this: posts and comments that encourage, advocate, or simply suggest that violence or death would be justified in retaliation or as a consequence of someone else's actions are not allowed. This includes posts lumping all people who are dealing with homelessness or addiction as people who are committing crimes, or suggesting that people in these situations are deserving of harm as a result, either through actions or inaction. If you are a victim of a crime, you can ask or generalize advice, blah, blah, blah. And so they deleted some of the comments here. They deleted some of the comments, bro. This is serious. So I don't know what exactly was said, but the moderator of Reddit locked his post, and there you go. There you go, right? So you've got potentially death threats that are geared towards me on my local Reddit. Like, this is insane, right? And this is all because the media is calling me a Maple MAGA or a Trump extremist, right? Isn't that absolutely insane? And now David Eby, our premier, the largest voice in British Columbia, just called me a far-right extremist. And so you've got people on my local Reddit that are calling me out, and trying to do a witch hunt against me. Like, isn't that pretty serious, right? Like, I just keep to myself and make my videos. I show up to watch question period. That was it. I show up to watch question period, and now people are trying to kill me and my family because of that. That's absolutely insane. And you know who's to blame for that? People like this. David Eby, for calling me a far-right YouTuber with extremist views. I mean, that's insanely defamatory. Insanely defamatory. I don't consider myself to be an extremist at all. So what's going to happen from this? Well, now it's crossed the line, right? Now it's crossed the line to, instead of me just showing up to question period and a NDP politician, getting mad and throwing a bit of a tantrum and whatever, the media crossed the line by trying to slander me and label me as an extremist, which I'm not. And then because where I live was announced, now you have people locally that are trying to hunt me and my kids. Kind of crazy, right? And this was before David Eby just made this announcement. So you've already seen how far it's gotten prior to the largest voice in British Columbia calling me a far-right extremist. Now imagine where it's going to go. So there you go, folks. I've criticized Pierre. I've criticized every politician that I think is worthy of criticism. 100%. I've made videos. Pierre Poilievre is going to lose everything if he keeps saying this. And now all of a sudden I'm a far-right extremist. Yeah, people are trying to dox me. People are hunting for me and my kids. So this is some real life shit that's happening because our media is willing to spin things. Instead of, I commented on the woman who wrote that article against me from CTV. I commented on her post on X and I said, I'm an open book. Ask me anything. No media, nothing has reached out to me. So I'm being badgered and labeled as a far-right extremist for making my videos and keeping to myself. Meanwhile, that rhetoric by politicians and by the mainstream media is leading to very real harm and threats that could potentially arise because of it. So let's just end it there, folks. Let's end it there because this is getting into some real crazy shit. On this live stream is when I found out that David Eby said that about me. So it's getting a little crazy, and I think I got a couple phone calls to make. But hey, don't worry, David Eby, because I fully endorse you. Freaking idiot. All right, folks, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And thanks, for crying out loud, man. Thanks for all the super chats. I actually do have a phone call to make because that's insane that the Premier of British Columbia said that about me. So I have to go and deal with that right now. Folks. So I apologize for leaving before I read and acknowledge the super chats, but my phone's blown up and I got to handle this, folks. That's absolutely insane. See you guys later.